Hi there, welcome to You Can Sketch Too. Not a tutorial today. All I really want to do is show you my sketchbooks. Kind of to prove a point. The point being that you can make great sketches without having to go very far outside your front door. So without further ado, let's begin. Now this sketch, I didn't even need to go outside my front door. Actually, I went outside my back door. Last week I was looking after my grandchildren and I made this sketch. It was a lovely day. We were playing out in the backyard and I made this sketch while we were there. This is one of the first ink sketches I've actually made. It's of Bagland Church in Port Talbot. I think churches are really good places to start because normally they have some interesting architectural details on them and quite often larger than surrounding buildings. This one had the nice bit of foliage around it. This is my local library, Talbot Library. Recently the local council have been unable to fund it, but it is still kept open by volunteers, which is a fabulous thing. It's a Carnegie library. Andrew Carnegie, a Scottish-born American industrialist in the 19th century. Once he'd made his money, he became possibly one of the world's greatest ever philanthropists and provided money for hundreds and hundreds of public libraries in both the USA and Britain. Again, a very short walk from my house. This is the Plaza Cinema. It's originally built, I believe, in the 1930s. You can see it's got a very definite Art Deco style to it. Sadly disused at the moment, but it is owned by the council, and one of these days it will be put to some good use. And the main thing is there's a clear political will to look after it. This is Station Road, the main, if you like, main shopping street in Port Talbot. Nothing particularly special about the buildings, I just like them. In Port Talbot, we're not far away from the sea at all, from the beach. And if you head down to the beach, you'll probably go past this building. At the time I made the sketch, it was a bar restaurant called Mavericks. It's being renovated at the moment, but when I first moved to Port Talbot, it was actually the Rafa Club, the RAF Association, and there was where my finger is, there was a massive great RAF roundel painted on the wall there. This is the Ebenezer Chapel in the centre of town. I did mention a minute or two ago that churches are always good. Well, if you're lucky enough to live in Wales, also you've got some beautiful chapels which are well worth studying. Now heading east out of town, if you go through Margam, you'll pass this building. It's rather incongruously named the Round Chapel. I say incongruous because it is actually octagonal rather than round. This building used to stand where part of the M4 motorway is now. It was part of a village called Beulah, which I never got to see myself. It was long before I moved to Port Talbot, but I've seen it described in various places as being like a Cotswold village, and there was a bit of an outcry when it was largely demolished to make way for the M4, but at least they had the sense and the foresight to move the chapel brick by brick to its present position in Margam. There now, just in case any of you have been thinking that I'm fully paid up member of the All Buildings Should Have Columns and Spires Brigade. This is a new building which I sketched. I say new, it's probably getting on for 7 or 8 years old now. It stands where the Vivian Park Hotel, a very interesting building in its own right, used to stand. But would I prefer they kept the Vivian Park? Well, that's another question. But purely as a building itself, I like this. It's just got enough going on with the features of it to make it interesting. I like the roof lines very much. Even the balconies, nothing is too terribly out of scale. You know, this is a building you can live with, seeing every day. This is in the area of Port Talbot called Aberavon. It's a convenience store. but I really like it because it's in the middle. If you look at this house here, every other building around it and for streets around it is a residential building like that, and then suddenly in this fairly quiet street you come across this piece of I think it's Art Deco, it's certainly early 20th century architecture, which I like, and it's a nice remnant of, because there used to be a lot more of this in Port Talbot. Just opposite the library, you get this building. It's very difficult for an Englishman to actually pronounce that word. Something like that house. It's gone through many uses in its time. It has at one point been a council, a local authority building. You know, again, I just like it. It's really got this really heavy late Victorian Edwardian styling to it, but I find that very appealing. Possibly Port Talbot's most famous, most well-known building, Margam Castle. This is one I've sketched a number of times. I did this one a few weeks ago. You might recognise Margam Castle if you watch, for example, Doctor Who or any of its spin-offs. It's been used quite a few times as locations for various stories. I love this building. I will always call it the Avon Arts Centre. It's not what it's called at the moment. It's actually a veterinary practice, and I sketched this from the Talbot Memorial Park. Also, it's my most successful, I think, line and wash painting, where you can see I've just applied a bit of watercolour to it. And that's just a little detail from St. Theodore's Church, which is the closest church to my house. It's, I like the neo-Gothic styling of it. If you've been following my tutorials, you might recognise this building. Sadly, it's no longer with us. It was demolished only a matter of weeks ago. It's a local pub called the Craddock Arms. I won't say any more about it, but if you watch my tutorial, You Can Sketch Too #2, you can actually see how I made it. I'd hate to give the idea that I'm thinking that all nice buildings in Port Talbot are just under a stay of execution and sooner or later are going to be knocked down. And this building here is the original Aberaghan fire station, and it's been repurposed and done up, and it's being used again to help the community, being used by the council. I like the building very much. It's one of my favourites. Now the last two pictures, or my two most recent pictures, both feature in tutorials which are available in this series. Both of them feature Station Road, which is the main shopping street. I like this one because I love the different aspects of the roofline there. Okay, and if you go right down this end, then the street looks like that. And that was my most recent tutorial, which was You Can Sketch 2, 6, 7 and 8. So that's my gallery of sketches of Port Talbot. I've made some paintings as well, but that's another thing for another time. And I will, in the next video, I'll show you sketches of other places which I've made. Hopefully see you then.